Welcome to part 31 of the Dogs of Ancient Egypt. Let's take a look at dog number 70. This piece is part of a very interesting early dynastic collection of stelae, or stones with inscriptions on it, that comes from El Kab near Abydos. These date anywhere from 3100 BCE to 2900 BCE. The area was excavated by Emilio in the late 1890s. Unfortunately, this was during a time period where archaeology was not a scientific study, and it was really close to treasure hunting and essentially looting. In 1900, Flinders Petrie, often called the father of archaeology, as he was one of the first to consider archaeology a science, published this book, which is The Royal Tombs of the First Dynasty. This was based off his excavations of the area and also trying to piece together anything that Emilio did. So the plates on this book are quite interesting, but unfortunately it's not really clear which pieces Flinders Petrie excavated and which pieces Emilio excavated and left either there or left in some sort of collection. It's kind of unclear where Petrie was getting some of these images from. He definitely was the father of archaeology, but he definitely was not perfecting it at this time. You can see at the very top of this plate, it says Abydos Sketches of Stelae from Emilio, 1895, and Ceilings from EEF and 1900. That would be Flinders Petrie, with the Egypt Exploration Fund is what EEF stands for. So Petrie was well known for essentially publishing books and or articles about his excavations almost within a year of the excavation, which is absolutely unheard of now. And so we're very grateful for what he did publish, but they aren't very deeply extensive, and they also aren't like peer-reviewed like any sort of articles or scientific books that are coming out. And so while his methods were far from perfect, he did show off a standard of excavation that future archaeologists and Egyptologists use today. Looking at this page, you can actually see the image of the dog that we're talking about, as well as some other images, which I can talk more about. And it is not totally clear what these stelae were used for, but the strongest and most likely theory is that these were used as tombstone-like markers. To differ from the royal stela of the kings and queens of the early dynastic period, these have been labeled as private stela, and unfortunately that still makes it pretty hard to search about any information about them, and often they don't get studied as much as the ones for the royals of this time period, especially because while there were graves, a lot of these stela, we cannot pair them with the graves that we have from this time period. Many of these stelae were found in Abydos, some in or around some of the royal tombs, but unfortunately we do not have the direct provenience as to where these were found. This is one of the many cemeteries in Abydos called Cemetery U, and you can see some of the more formal burials of the royals down here. Most likely, the stelae are probably coming from an area like this, with kind of just a random smattering of tombs. It does seem that some of these stelae have been found within the burials of the royals, and it is theorized that maybe these people were members of the king's household, and possibly that these people were killed to accompany their ruler in the afterlife. This practice was not continued after the early dynastic period, but was probably the precursor to the Shopti statues that are now included in burials. So the hieroglyphs that are on these stones have been interpreted as names, and several have the determinative of a dog, indicating that they are dogs' names and not humans' names. I have 4 dog stelae like these in my corpus, which have been labeled as named dogs. But for example, this is one that would have been attributed to a human because it has an image of a woman on the top, and that is technically not supposed to be an image of her per se. It's actually just supposed to be a female determinative to tell us that that name that is named there above, which with it broken I can't tell, but it looks at least there that says Ka-en, that her name would be Ka-en, and if there was a determinative of a man, that his name would have been Ka-en. So along with the 4 stela that have a image of a dog, this is the one that we are talking about. This is number 70. There is also talk that there was one burial of a dog at this site, and this may or may not be associated with one of the stela. Unfortunately, the records are just not clear to tell us. So this dog was apparently named Erie Hem, which has been translated as comrade of the wife or nurse. So was this dog a companion to the wife of a king or the wife of an official? Was this dog a nurse dog? Was it a rescue dog? Who knows? And while we may never know, we do know that this is one of the oldest named dogs that we have from ancient Egypt.